Basically, all major cities are really well covered. If you have an iPhone or G1, just try it. Yeah? In the US, it's of course the West Coast and the East Coast, and something in between a little bit. Okay, so this is Skyhook Wireless, but as I said before, you need to bootstrap that somehow. Now, another database for location information is MaxMind. Who has been using MaxMind? A couple of. Okay, so MaxMind is a geo-IP database. Basically, if you have an IP address, you can ask MaxMind where is that IP address. This is actually it was not so clear to have that information by default because the IP address could be anywhere, theoretically. But they managed to have a pretty decent database with 83% accuracy. And usually in IT security at work, we use that to at least locate to where an IP address is in which city. And usually it's used for fraud detection for online shops. The database is extremely practical, and I recommend that if you have anything to do with geolocation, use it. It's for free, and they have a CSV file, comma separated value file, and you can download it for free. You can use it for free, and the free version of the database is almost as accurate as the commercial version, which is a little bit more up to date, but it's okay. It's very simple to use. And they have 4.9 million networks prefixes stored. And basically they have a very easy user interface. It looks like that. In PHP you would say require once net geoip PHP, then tell it where the database is. Then you say to that geoip object, to that handle, look up location, the remote address of the client connecting to your server. And then you have the location is in latitude, longitude, location, region, city, everything is here. It's extremely simple. Now, Skyhook Wireless used, I think, MaxMind to bootstrap and to fill up the gaps where their cell phone tower and BSSID database was not accurate enough. So, works very well together. Now, the question is that a problem for us if we're being tracked? And to what extent? And I think the question shouldn't be answered like easily, like in a automatic reaction. Yes, it's bad. We're pro-privacy. I think we should look a little bit deeper. We should understand how it works exactly. Because if you read the documents from Skyhook Wireless, and if you read the API, by default, it is not so clear that it's a big privacy invasion. Because actually what they do is you register, or your application on your phone registers with that service. And basically, the ideal situation would be your phone generates a random cookie, or a random number. It sends that as the registration process, and then it keeps that ID and you communicate over that ID. But Skyhook Wireless by default doesn't know who you are. It's not really in the API. It's just that, I'm not sure if they try to respect privacy or not, or if it's really if it makes a difference if you're just a number for them, or if it doesn't make a difference, because you can still do profiling. You can still track where that ID is going to. And maybe even that information is very valuable. And the other idea that I had was, in Germany at least, a public IP address is considered personal data. So the question is, if we transmit this location request over a public IP address to some database like that, do we automatically send personal information to that database in addition to the request, just by using a public IP address? I'm not so 100% sure about that, maybe. But what for sure is really happening with iPhones is you have this great mobile me service, okay? It's great for deleting your phone once it gets stolen. But for that, for sure, you need to know who's the owner of the phone and have a login and password for that. So that's for sure tied to a personal information. So I'm not sure if Skyhook Wireless is to blame, but I think the combination with this ID from Skyhook Wireless and, let's say, your Mobile Me ID, that's critical. And I think if you can combine that, and it's very easy to combine because the ID from Skyhook Wireless doesn't change, then you have a privacy problem. Now, the other thing is you can easily install tracking software on your girlfriend's or boyfriend's iPhone or laptop. And this is, I think we're going to see some privacy attacks over this path. Okay. So let's look at the API. So the API is very simple. You have a WPS IP location object structure. You have a WPS location structure. If you take the let's take a look at the location structure. So we have a horizontal position error. That's meters of error. So you get a radius on your iPhone where you are. You have a number of access points that were used for triangulation. You have a speed if you're going in a direction. You have the bearing, the direction, and you have the information of the street address and latitude and longitude. That's already pretty much. Yeah. I think from that you can see most of the data which is going back and forth. So the functions are, you have essentially three important functions. You have a location request. This is a one-time location request. You have a simple you have a periodic location request where actually you get updates all the time. And in all of those you can see this authentication token. And the authentication token, that unique ID that I was talking before, is exactly just this. It's just a string, okay? Good. So, who cares about that? Today, for getting some food, I was out leaving this dome of geekness here, and I went to Alexa, to the shop back there. Yeah? And I was like, wow, this is a different world. So these guys are normal, and we are actually, you know, the more of those people out there than here. And I think none of them would care if they're tracked, because actually they get a service, they get a benefit. And maybe some little bit paranoid people would turn it off, but who really cares? As I said before, the joining of the unique cookie, the unique ID with other personal data, that's just somehow too easy, in my opinion. So what happens when, you know, Skyhook Wireless loses its data because of a hacker attack? What happens when we start to think about, I mean, in Germany, in Europe, we should think about, is it actually okay to, by default, to send data from the EU to the US? Actually, there should have been some discussion about it. That's what I'm trying to say. And what happens if there is some inside job, somebody who shouldn't be there at that company at Skyhook Wireless? Maybe they don't control it, maybe they do, I don't know. But it's a possibility. And for me, finally, the last question is really, shouldn't they ask us before? You know, it's this really big, massive crowdsourcing on a massive scale. And whose data was it actually in the first place? We generated that data without actually noticing it. So what can you do with that data? Even if it's in anonymous, completely anonymized, you can really use it for geomarketing. It's great for geomarketing. You can, of course, if it's that precise, send cruise missiles to that location. Or if you have that data and if you're a terrorist, you can plan great terrorist plots. Now, I think I want to give you an example of a mobile phone operator in Austria. I think they're doing it in an okay way. They're selling that data in a completely anonymized way because they get that data. GSM networks work like that, right? But they sell the data. But again, we have the question, is it actually okay to sell that data without asking the user? Shouldn't there be some kind of opt-out or something like that?